I wish that there was gonna be, I wish there was gonna be Apprentice Philippines or Apprentice Asia. But before that, when I was still in college, you guys are familiar with Apprentice US?
Yes.
Right? Apprentice UK? Familiar as well? No? You have to watch. It's now on season 10. It's way, way smarter than Apprentice US. You have to see it. Apprentice Ireland or Australia, also nice. You have to see that. There's also Apprentice Czech Republic, Apprentice Italy. You haven't heard? Spain, Netherlands, Slovenia. Okay. All of these, when I was in college then, I've seen 158 episodes of The Apprentice. I've been such a big fan of the show. And I thought to myself, when I realized one day that there was going to be Apprentice Asia, you know, I kept on jumping up and down, calling my brother and told him that I have to cross this out from my bucket list before I die. And, you know, lo and behold, there was Apprentice Asia and I joined it. And that kind of preparation, you know, was something very important because for me, preparation breeds familiarity, and that's familiarity of the format. And familiarity breeds confidence. And I thought to myself, if I've seen all 158 episodes of Apprentice Asia, I cannot lose, you know, the competition in the end. For reasons that you know how exactly it's going to be operating. I'll give you one example. If you watch other Apprentice franchises, the first episode is always about selling. Apprentice US started with selling lemonade. Apprentice Ireland started selling with apples, because apples is very popular in that country. Apprentice Spain was about selling tapas, because tapas is very popular in Spain. And I thought if there's going to be first episode for Apprentice Asia, it was about either selling dim sum or maybe selling noodles. I was wrong, it was about selling fish. But nevertheless, I knew that the first episode was about selling. And I mentally prepared, had I known that I was part of the show, that I had to know how to properly sell to people. Because I'm not a sales guy, I'm from marketing. I was always scared of selling people because I thought you have to build relationship first. And that was preparation for me. There's this Greek philosopher who said that when preparation meets opportunity, it's equals to... Alright, I'll give a gift certificate for anyone who can give me what the answer is. It's a shopping gift certificate from Parkson. Just so you know. Can someone answer it? Yes? Success. Close enough.
Winner.
Close enough. Close enough as well. The answer is luck. Alright? When preparation which is controllable on your part and opportunity which is uncontrollable on your part meet together, it's luck. And in my case, the preparation was me watching all those episodes when I was still in college, even if I did not know that there was Apprentice Asia. And the opportunity was that AXN wanted to make a show out of it. And I got that opportunity. But more than that, there was something I'm also very proud of as far as preparation is concerned. Because obviously, Tansri Tony Fernandez is very popular here. And I'll be very honest, I didn't know him until I joined the Apprentice Asia. Until we were all required to send an application video for the Apprentice Asia. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to join and work for this guy, I have to know who he is. And in the Philippines, no one really knows Tony Fernandez. He only started last year when AirAsia was launched in the Philippines. And he only got more known when AirAsia came in 2012. So what I did, because I had no contact of who this guy is, I went to YouTube, seen all 34 interviews of who Tony Fernandez was. Check it on YouTube, he has 34 interviews. And I took out my Excel sheet and I listed down meticulously what were the key buzzwords that he always keeps on saying in his interviews. And I found out averagely, he mentions the word leadership 6 to 7 times in an average interview. He also mentions the word passion 3 to 4 times averagely in an interview. He also mentions the word people or people management 2 to 3 times averagely in an interview. And what I did was to match what exactly were my strengths and my qualities as a person that were also the same with him. So that when the boardroom comes in, I know exactly what to tell to Tony and what to tell versus the other contestants that will make me stand out versus the other competitors. And that for me was preparation. Because I could have easily said, I'm just going to wing it. And I'm just going to know who Tony is when I get into the show. And that for me was the weakness of a lot of the other contestants. A lot of them didn't know, for example, who Tony was. The other Filipina who was in the competition didn't know who Tony was. And that for me was the advantage, because even if I don't know him personally, the way he talks, the kinds of words that he uses in the interviews made me feel like I knew him for a while or for a longer period of time. And that for me was the virtue of preparation. As they would say, if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And that's why preparation is always the most basic but always taken for granted virtue. The number 2 thing that I would like to share is, it's not about working hard, but it's about working smart. And I think a lot of Asians are very, very guilty of this. I have a lot of colleagues in the Philippines, for example, who would go to the office at 7 a.m. and go home at 12 midnight because they want to work hard like a horse and make it as if they're still productive at 9 or 10 p.m. And for me, in today's life, when you have technology, it's not supposed to be about working hard, but you have to find techniques on ways of doing things the faster and smarter way so you can spend more time in life. Not all of us will love the jobs that we're doing. In my case, not every day is a day about loving my job, and I would want to spend my time doing something else, like watching TV or being in the gym or doing sports with some friends. And one thing I would like to share, again as a lesson, this is a funny picture, of the Apprentice Asia is my trusty iron steamer. Has anyone used this? Do you guys use this one? No? Is it your first time to see it? Alright, so this is an iron steamer, so you just put water in it. You put water in this part. This part, you open it here, you put water in it. And you make, when you plug it, the moment you plug it, it heats up the water, it creates vapor that's very hot. And you steam it in a sense that you don't need an ironing board. You just raise the cloth and then just do this. And then it makes it really, the creases are all gone. So it's very portable. And the reason why I'm sharing this as one of my secrets why I won the competition was as an insider tip in the show, in a house of 12, there was only one iron and one ironing board. And we always have to, clean our clothes every night. And you can only imagine at 5 in the morning, everyone would scramble finding where the iron is. We even have one contestant, I will not name her. She would even hide the iron under her bed. So that the next day, she's the first one to use that iron. And it wasn't for me. That wasn't the issue. Because I knew I had my own iron steamer. And I would use an iron steamer when we were shooting in the set. Because in the set, there were many times that we didn't do anything at all. We were waiting for the camera or the lights to get fixed. We were waiting for some of the food. We were waiting for Tony because he was late for the shoot, for example. That was averagely 2 to 3 hours. And during lull moments, I brought always my clothes with me. And I iron steam my clothes so that the next day, they will be fine. Why is this working smart and not hard? Because you find ways how to get through things uniquely. Working hard is probably another example. You go to the immigration office, like for example in the Philippines, it takes 6 hours for us to get our passports done. That was 10 years ago. But there are still people in the Philippines, for example, who do that. They line up in the immigration office, apply for passport for 6 hours, only to find out that there's an online application to do it, which is the smarter way of doing things. You take pride of queuing for many hours, fine, you worked hard, but you didn't work smart. And that for me was important with my iron steamer, because rather than spending my mornings scrambling and panicking where the iron was, I was on the kitchen, sipping my hot mug of coffee, strategizing with my own piece of Zen, how to kick out Andrea or Alex in the competition. That was working smart and not working hard for me. The next thing I would like to share as a lesson is keep on developing your strengths, because there's no point of correcting your weaknesses as you get older. I know a lot of accountants are very, very much type A personalities. You're very obsessive compulsive and you only want the best. Is that right? I am, how do you call this? I will admit I'm very intimidated of accountants because I'm not really good with math. And I didn't do well in statistics. We only had one required statistics course in economics. And yeah, so when I say keep on developing your strengths, the intuition of most type A personalities or high flyers is that they have to correct their weaknesses. For example, you're good in English or literature, don't work on it anymore. Work on your math because you have to correct your weaknesses on math. But empirically speaking, they found out that the more you spend time correcting your weaknesses, there are lesser chances and there are lesser, probability of you being able to correct them. Why? Because as you grow older, that's exactly who you are. That's what makes you an imperfect person living out the daily life. And as such, the more you spend time and effort correcting these things, with lower chances of making them as your strengths, you're not only spending your time inefficiently, but there's a probability that it will not lead to any results at all. But empirically speaking, they've proven that if you work instead with your strengths, there's this infinitesimal chance that the strengths will overwhelm your weaknesses. And I'll give you one example. This is one of my favorite books of all time. Has anyone read this? No, I was about to give a gift voucher. Seems like I'm going to be keeping all of them for the rest of my talk. No? I really recommend you guys to take this. This is a New York bestseller. It's the only empirically, scientifically proven test. It says that humanity has 34 strengths. So examples of them are harmony, strategic, maximizer, responsibility, etc. Those 34 strengths, you are required to take a 180 questionnaire exam for around 30 minutes. And after you take that exam, it ranks your top 5 strengths and tells you where you're good at. Because the call to action is that you have to keep on working on those strengths, so that whatever weakness that you have, they will all be overwhelmed. And in my company before, I worked with GlaxoSmithKline. It's a pharmaceutical company. I think you also have it here in Malaysia. We all were required to share what were the strengths of each employee to the other employees, so that we know exactly how to treat the other employee and how to maximize him based on his strengths. So I'll give an example. When I took this test 3 years ago, these were my top 5 strengths, which I knew were my advantages in the competition. So 1 is competition. This is in order of strength, strength, strength. 2 is communication. 3 is learner. 4 is significance. 5th is command. What is competition? Competition basically means that you don't want to simply achieve. You believe that you can only be the best if you're pitted against someone else. So even if, let's say, you've achieved the objective, but you were not the top 1 of the class, you don't feel it's an achievement. That's competition. Communication is, you feel this overwhelming need to always communicate things in the simplest and clearest way. 3rd is learner. You don't care what's going to be learned, but you value the concept of learning in itself. 4th is significance, and I think this is very typical of all contestants of Apprentice Asia. Significance means that you will only move and do things if there's the limelight in front of you. And the 5th is command. Command is being able to ask people to do things based on what you want to happen. If you're familiar and very much aware of your strengths, you know exactly where to go and what to do with the rest of people. And in my case, for example, I knew that one of my strengths was competition or communication. And if you've noticed, if you look at anyone in the boardroom who always keeps on talking, probably that's me. Because I love communication. And I know it's a strength that I can use whenever someone says that I should be kicked out or be fired, I know exactly how to defend myself. So when you go home, I'm not endorsing the book. It's around, I think, how much is it? I think 30 to 40 ringgit. When you get the book, I asked my parents to take this, by the way. And it's so good because I'm able to manage them properly based on their strengths as well. This is the example I'd like to share. This is episode 1 of Apprentice Asia. It was about selling fish. And I'm sharing this because I knew my weakness was about selling. I'm really poor with selling because, as I mentioned a while ago, I think it always involves a lot of relationship building. Sometimes if you sell too much from the brain and not from the heart, people will not buy your products. And all of these guys most of them were sales guys, except maybe for Sam. Sam was an IT guy. And I knew that if the cameraman, if you've seen episode 1, you didn't see me much selling, right? You noticed? I didn't sell much. I was always like behind the counters doing something else. Because I knew that my strength instead could be about strategy or pricing. I wasn't good with numbers too much, but I was okay enough to do it. And I told myself, if I'm not good at selling, I will not push myself to sell.